So you want to own a tow truck company. You have seen the flashing lights at 2 in the morning, a truck backing up to a stranded car on the shoulder, chains under the frame, a winch groaning. 10 minutes later, someone's problem is solved and a check gets written on the spot. You look at that and you think one thing. Every breakdown in America is a customer, and nobody negotiates the price of a tow at midnight. And you are right, completely right. The truck itself is not expensive by commercial standards, and margins on a straightforward tow run remarkably high. But here's the part almost nobody tells you before you buy the truck. Whether you eat this year or starve depends on one relationship you do not control. It is not the customer, it is not the bank. It is a phone that rings or does not ring inside your local police department's dispatch center. Here is the reframe that explains this entire industry. A tow truck is not really a vehicle recovery business. It is a business that sells access, and the access is called a rotation list. Get on it, and calls arrive automatically, all day, every day, forever. Stay off it, and you are fighting for scraps on the open road against everyone else with a hook and a chain. So let us build one properly. What the truck costs, what the real revenue streams are, and how much a rotation contract is actually worth. Then the part that has landed towing companies in more attorney general lawsuits than almost any other small business category in America. Start with scale, because towing is far bigger and far more fragmented than it looks from the side of the road. The American towing industry generates well over $11 billion a year, spread across tens of thousands of small operators, most running 1 to 3 trucks. It is one of the most fragmented service industries in the country, which is exactly why the rotation list matters so much. In a market with no dominant brand, the contract is the only durable advantage anyone actually has. Start with the ticket price, because this is where towing looks deceptively approachable. A single used wheel lift truck runs $20,000 to $50,000. A flatbed, $30,000 to $80,000. Total startup for one truck, licensing, insurance, and basic gear typically lands between $60,000 and $125,000. Heavy-duty recovery trucks, the kind that pull semi-trucks and buses off highways, run far higher, sometimes past $500,000 for a single specialized rig. Most new operators start light, a single wheel lift truck, a driver who is also the owner, and whatever calls come in, while the real capital gets saved for the second and third truck. Gross margins on light-duty towing commonly run 65% to 70%, which sounds almost unbelievable for a business built on steel and diesel. But notice what is missing from that number. Not the truck, not the fuel. The one line item that decides everything is not on the price list at all. It is a contract. Now, the 3 doors into this business, and they pay completely differently. Door 1, motor clubs. AAA, Ajero, the roadside assistance networks. You sign on, you get dispatch calls at a flat rate, and the volume is steady, but the pay per job is low. Door 2, private property towing. Apartment complexes, shopping centers. You sign an agreement, put up a sign, and any car parked wrong becomes yours to remove and store. Door 3, and the one that actually builds a real company, police rotation. Municipalities keep a list of approved towing companies and call down the list for accidents, abandoned vehicles, impounds, and arrests. A single rotation slot has been valued, in the industry's own literature, at $80,000 to $300,000 a year to the company that holds it. Not because the tows themselves pay especially well, because the volume is guaranteed, and guaranteed volume is the only thing that turns a truck into a business instead of a gamble. To even qualify, you typically need a secured storage yard, 24-hour availability, response times under 20 or 30 minutes, and liability insurance above $1 million. Which means the entry price for door 3 is not the truck. It is the lot, the insurance, and the relationship with people who decide who makes that list. Most trucks under 26,000 pounds do not require a commercial driver's license at all, which keeps the labor pool wide. But the moment you want the heavier recovery work or a multi-truck fleet, licensing and driver requirements climb fast, and so does your insurance bill. Now the invisible machine, because towing has a second business folded inside the first one, and it is where an enormous amount of the real profit sits. Every non-consensual tow ends the same way for the company. The car does not just get moved, it gets stored. Storage fees typically run $30 to $100 a day, accruing from the moment the vehicle enters the lot, whether or not the owner has even been notified yet. The tow itself might net you $150 to $400 once. The storage meter runs every single day the car sits there, for as long as the owner cannot afford to or does not know how to get it back. And if nobody comes for it at all, most states allow a lien sale. The company can auction the vehicle itself to recover its fees, which means the company that towed the car, stored the car, set the daily rate, and never heard a single objection from a judge is also the party that gets to sell it. There is no landlord anywhere else in commercial life who gets to set the rent, the eviction date, and the auction price, all without a single hearing. One real towing business listed for sale shows exactly how this compounds. A small operation with an impound lot, no police contracts at all, purely private property towing. Over $700,000 in annual revenue from 3 trucks. The truck does the tow once. The lot collects rent on a car that cannot leave every single day. until the fees exceed what the car itself is worth. Now, the part that has generated more state attorney general lawsuits than almost anything else on this channel, because the incentive structure above has an obvious flaw. If storage fees are where the real money is, the fastest way to make more money is simply to tow more cars, whether or not you are actually asked to. This has a name in the industry: patrol towing, sometimes called predatory towing, sometimes called bandit towing. A truck drives through a parking lot on its own initiative, spots a technical violation, and hooks the car, with no call from the property owner and no owner present to object. In 2022, the New York Attorney General sued a company called Bobby's Towing, operating in Poughkeepsie. The lawsuit alleged the company towed vehicles while owners were physically present and objecting, overcharged for fees, and falsified tow tickets, and actively patrolled public streets, hunting for cars, whether or not any property owner had actually called them. The Attorney General's office said plainly that residents had been bullied out of hundreds of dollars to get back cars that had done nothing wrong. If this breakdown is useful, subscribe. It genuinely helps. And this is not an isolated case. A federal consumer research group surveyed towing law across all 50 states. Predatory towing, meaning kickback arrangements between towing companies and the property owners who wave them onto the lot, remains legal in the majority of states. Only 17 states currently ban that kickback structure outright. Only about half the states cap what a company can charge for a non-consensual tow at all. Only 14 require the rate to be posted anywhere the driver can see it before they are charged. Read what that regulatory gap actually creates. A company can legally pay a property owner a bounty for every car removed, with no photo required, no rate displayed, and no cap on the bill. In states without those protections, researchers estimate a meaningful share of private property tows violate even the loose rules that do exist, because there is often nobody checking. The most severe cases move past a regulatory fine and into criminal court entirely. Attorneys defending towing operators in California have described prosecutors charging patrol towing cases as auto theft and extortion, not simply as a civil parking dispute, which tells you precisely how far this can go when the incentive to tow first and justify it later goes unchecked. Now, the ordinary risks, the ones that exist even when a company runs completely by the book, liability is severe and constant. On-hook insurance, garage keeper's liability, and general liability commonly run thousands of dollars per truck per year. One uninsured claim from a dropped or damaged vehicle can erase a year of profit instantly. Fuel and maintenance on heavy trucks running 24-hour shifts are relentless. Idle trucks lose money every single day they are not dispatched. The job itself is genuinely dangerous. Roadside recovery workers are struck and killed on American highways every year, standing between a stalled car and live traffic, often at night. That risk shows up in workers' compensation premiums long before it shows up in a headline. And the entire police rotation revenue stream, worth up to $300,000 a year, can be revoked by a municipality. A single missed response time or a failed inspection, with no real appeal process in most jurisdictions. You do not own that revenue. You are renting it indefinitely on someone else's terms. All right, numbers. Two versions of the same starting point. Scenario 1. A single truck, private property, towing only, no police contract. You sign agreements with 8 apartment complexes and shopping centers. No marketing costs because the signage does the selling. At 6 to 10 tows a day across those accounts, at an average $250 combining tow and several days of storage, that is roughly $1,500 a day in gross billing. Fuel, insurance, lot rent, and one driver's wage eat a significant share of that. But even conservatively, a single well-placed truck servicing private lots can plausibly clear $200,000 a year in revenue. One real listing shows almost exactly this. A 3-truck operation, private impound only, $732,000 in revenue, valued at $775,000 to sell. Scenario 2. You land a municipal police rotation slot. The upfront cost is brutal. A secured, fenced, monitored lot, a truck meeting every equipment requirement, and insurance far above the private lot minimum. Easily $200,000 to $300,000 before your first police dispatched call. But that single contract is worth $80,000 to $300,000 a year on its own, layered on top of whatever private and motor club work you already run. And unlike private property towing, which can dry up the moment a single apartment complex changes management companies, a municipal contract typically renews on a multi-year cycle, with real notice before it can be pulled. A 9-truck operation with a direct police contract, in business since 2004, shows revenue of $4.68 million a year. The gap between those two scenarios is not really about how many trucks you own. It is about whether your revenue depends on you finding the next car or on a contract that finds the cars for you. So who is this business for? It rewards someone willing to treat the contract, not the truck, as the actual asset, and who is prepared to spend years building the compliance record and relationships that a rotation slot requires. It punishes the operator who assumes more trucks automatically means more money, without ever locking down the guaranteed volume that makes those trucks worth running in the first place. And it exposes, more clearly than almost any other business in the series, exactly what happens when a legal incentive and a predatory one point in the same direction. Storage fees that accrue whether or not you did anything wrong. Kickbacks that are still legal in most of the country. A regulatory gap wide enough that patrol towing remains in most states simply a business decision rather than a crime. The truck was never really the business. The truck was just the part you could see. The business was the list, the lot, and the daily meter running on a car that was never actually yours to begin with.